me start telling you a little story. I was in the US some time ago, and on a Wednesday morning I drove down to the local shopping mall where there is an Apple store. And as I came into the Apple store, I was immediately met by an Apple representative saying, there is a 45 minutes waiting time for the next available salesperson. Do you want to hang around in the shop, or will you come back? So I said, well, I'll come back. Okay, can I have your Apple ID? And I gave him my Apple ID and I went off. I came back 45 minutes later and I was immediately taken care of. And another 15 minutes later, I was out of the Apple shop, Apple store, with a couple of iPads and some accessories. So the theme of my presentation today, this little example or story, epitomizes what I'm going to talk about. How do we take what we believe is an awesome product and turn it into a booming business? What is in this magic box that can make people beat a path to our door and wait 45 minutes until we can serve them and sell them our goods and services? That's what I'm going to talk about today. Let me already now demystify something that I just said. I said, what is in this magic box? Well, there is nothing magical about it. There is no wizardry involved in designing this process. It's actually the good old S-curve. We have market share up the y-axis and we have time out the x-axis. In the beginning, we struggle as a startup to find a match between an idea that we have and some needs in the marketplace. At a certain stage in time, we have found this product market match and we are out of startup, we make a profit. We are a profitable company. We get customers. And we enter what I call the make or break phase. Now, what do we want to do now? Yeah, we want to stay on that green curve and become a market leader. But that's not what's happening in the software industry. Unfortunately, most continue to grow a little bit, but they turn on the red curve and they sort of are so excited about that they're out of startup that they forget that they grow slower than the market and they grow slower than their competitors. Why? Well, there are probably many reasons, but there is an intrinsic characteristic in the software industry, and that is that the market leaders take it all. And you'll say, yes, of course, because there are networking effects. That's clear. We cannot have 2 Skypes and 2 Facebooks and 2 LinkedIns and 2 Googles. But it is also happening when there are no networking effects. Like Apple, like Microsoft, like Oracle, like Basecamp, like Atlassian, like SimCorp, like Salesforce.com. I can mention many examples of companies that are sitting on the market where there are no networking effects. So the challenge in the software industry coming out of startup is not only to become profitable and remain profitable. The challenge is to stay on the green curve to market leadership. Because if you don't, you will end on the red curve. There is no space in between those 2 curves in the software industry. So my presentation today is about the companies in the make and break phase and how they stay on that green curve to market leadership. The structure of my presentation, I will give you the revenue generation model, because I'm not going to talk about how we make awesome products. This, I assume we have an awesome product. But what we need is a revenue generation model that will scale and keep us on the green curve. So I'll introduce you to what that is. And why is it though difficult? Well, it's difficult because there are four basic challenges in the software industry that we have to deal with. I will introduce you to those four basic challenges that have always been there and will always be there. And then there are some major trends in our environment that will either kill us if we ignore them, or that will help us accelerate along the green curve if we understand them and can take advantage of them. And then finally, I give you my 6 steps to success, the recipe for staying on the green curve. This is a revenue generation model. In the northwestern corner, we have the strategy wheel. This is where we decide what we want to do and who we want to do it for. We call that software product management, SPM. When we have that fit between a product and a market, then on top of our products and services and insight, we can build what we call a customer value proposition. Well, sometimes it's only a customer value assumption or suggestion, but let's just call it a customer value proposition. That is the value that our products provides to our customers. We also have an idea of who are our ideal customers, because even though we have a very generic product, it is always the case that it provides more value to certain customers than to other customers. So to those customers that it really provides immense value, and to those customers that we can identify and where it provides immense value, that's what we call the ideal customers. And we have a profile of those. And some of them have been prepared to document that what we do for these kind of people is really valuable. That's what we call satisfied customer testimonials. These 3 items is what we call the launch pad for our revenue generation model. And the revenue generation model always consists of 5 parts. There is a marketing part, there is a sales part, there is an implementation part, there is a retention part, and there is a growth part. And by the end of the day, we want to add yet another customer to our list of satisfied customer testimonials, and then the wheel will start growing faster and faster and faster. Now, each company has its own unique revenue generation model. And let me just give you 2 examples here of a very different character. Is anybody familiar with the company Epic? E-P-I-C, Epic. It's an American company, and they are probably one of the market leaders in electronic medical record systems. Right now in Denmark, we're in the middle of implementing for Copenhagen and Zealand, this geographical area, a new medical record system, which is, we call it an IV healthcare platform. And that is supposed to serve 40,000 healthcare users, healthcare workers like doctors and nurses and radiographers and other healthcare users, 40,000. 12,000 of those will be concurrently active on the system. This healthcare platform will serve 2.5 million citizens. Each citizen will have access to his own medical record in this particular system. And it's going to replace 30 existing IT systems in the healthcare sector. This is a 135 million euro investment. So it's a big project. And officially it started in the middle of 2012, where the healthcare authorities in Copenhagen and Zealand called for pre-qualifications. 9 companies submitted requests for pre-qualifications, and 7 were pre-qualified in late 2012. In the beginning of 2013, 5 were shortlisted, and a couple of months later, 3 were shortlisted. And the final vendor was selected in the beginning of 2014, in January 2014, and that was Epic. And Epic was even winning over 2 Danish software companies that was also developing electronic medical record systems. In 2014 and 15, they did the preparation for implementation. They're also in the middle of that now. And in May this year, they will do the first implementation at the hospital, and by the end of 2017, there will be full rollout of this system. So, the sales process took about 2 years. The implementation process, about 4 years. How long did the marketing phase take? Well, I've done some research into this, and I've written a number of articles about this project. And there is a remarkable increase in the number of site visits from the Danish healthcare authorities to the US and to Epic customers starting in 2007. The request for pre-qualification came out in 2012. So 5 years prior, and 5 years prior they didn't know there would be a public tender, relationships started to be developed. And that means that a full cyclus for Epic on a project like this is around 10 to 12 years. If you are in that kind of business, what are the critical issues on your revenue generation, in your revenue generation model? That is not to spend time on customers that will not buy. Because the price of participating in the tender process, I have estimated, I've interviewed some of the providers who participated in the competition, is between 1 and 2 million euro. That's the direct expense associated with demonstrations and site visits and all the activities you have in such a public tender. That's just the direct expense. But those people that you have assigned to such a project cannot do other projects. There is an opportunity cost that is much larger than the 1 to 2 million euro. So Epic is one of the market leaders, and they are well known for it's either the Epic way or it's no way. And that's the way that Epic has become a market leader, and that's their revenue generation model. That's to be extremely strict on who they do business with. They have a very clear understanding on who their ideal customer profiles, what they look like, and they only go into cases where they have a very high probability of winning it. Let's take a completely different example. Classroom is a web-based portal for students, parents, and teachers where they can exchange information. It's a Turkish software company. The average time from a customer comes to the website and they sign up for the service is 15 minutes. It's 15 minutes because it's a free service, right? It's not a very big commitment. So that the big job they have is to make sure that they provide enough value so that the visitors stay and convert to a paying customer. And that he then stays for a long time so that he can pay off all the investment that Classroom has done in developing the platform and the marketing that they need to do. That's a completely different revenue generation model. And what are the critical aspects of the revenue generation model of Classroom? That's to make enough visitors coming to the website. That's to be found. Epic has no problem being found. Anybody in the healthcare industry knows Epic very well. But nobody knows Classroom. So if you're a teacher and you're searching for certain issues and challenges you have, you must find Classroom. Otherwise, they will never be an opportunity for business. So, you as a company need to design your revenue generation model. And your revenue generation model must serve 5 steps, namely finding, winning, making, keeping, and growing a steadily number of happy customers at a steadily decreasing customer acquisition cost. That is the challenge. To do that, you need to accept and understand that marketing and sales are genuine business processes. There is no magic, there is no wizardry involved. It's business process engineering. So you need to sit down with your people and design a model. You need to document it, implement it, test it, correct it, optimize it again and again and again until it works. When it works, then you scale like crazy, because that's what makes you stay on the green curve. So, why is this so difficult in the software industry? I guess it's also difficult elsewhere, but I only work in the software industry and can testify that it is a challenge. Because we are faced with 4 basic challenges. This is my watch. This is a Omega Seamaster watch. James Bond is also wearing one. I bought mine before James Bond got his, so I guess that's where he got the inspiration from. If you go to the website of Omega, you will see that it only takes a single page to explain what it is. It shows the time, it shows the date, and it also shows that James Bond is wearing one. I don't know why they didn't feature me wearing one, but they didn't. Go to the Apple website. This is an Apple Watch. If you go to the Apple website, you will see how difficult it is for Apple to explain what it is. Because it is only, even though it's competing for the same real estate on my body, it's 1% watch and it's 99% something else. In the software industry, our products are invisible. And when our products are invisible, it means that it's actually very difficult for our customers, our potential customers, to relate their needs, their challenges, their requirements with our products. Especially when we're not the market leader, when we're not a recognized brand, when we're somebody they don't know. They have a hard time figuring out how their daily problems can be solved by our products. In the software industry, products are invisible. We have tons of products in the software industry. I may have a computer-aided design system, very nice, but my customer needs to build bridges or dig tunnels or sail ships or build cars. In the software industry, the product is seldom the solution. I, as a business, need a suite of products that need to work together to form a solution. And that's why it's so difficult for me as a customer to relate my challenges and needs to software products, especially when they're not market leaders, especially when I don't know them. We may have the best disc jockey in town, really cool guy. He's playing the same music every night, but the party is never the same 2 nights in a row, because the party depends on the interaction between the disc jockey and the crowd. And that's the same in the software industry. You may have a customer relationship management package. And you may have companies that will testify that this CRM system helped them become market leaders. You can have the exact same software installed with another customer and it's a nightmare. It's actually have a negative impact on productivity. Because in the software industry, the value of software requires the proactive participation of the customer. And that's why it makes it so difficult for us as customers to relate our challenges and needs and requirements to software products, especially when they don't come from market leaders and recognized vendors. Who is familiar with the law of diffusion of innovation? Yeah, those from academia, they are definitely familiar with that. Who's familiar with the principles behind this illustration? Some more hands, yes. The law of diffusion and innovation was originally formulated by Professor Rogers in '62, and he came out of agriculture. And the thing he observed was that when new agriculture technology came on the market that had a proven productivity benefit, let's say of improving the yield of 20%, it did not immediately get implemented by the farmers. Can anybody give me a name for this percentage? Does that say anybody anything?
Early majority?
This 20%? Is there a name for that? Okay. By the beginning of the 90s, Geoffrey Moore published his book, Crossing the Chasm. And Geoffrey Moore is only writing about technology companies. And he took Rogers' law of diffusion and innovation and used that to explain why a lot of technology companies are successful and then unsuccessful. Actually, he explains why companies don't stay on the green curve but drop off on the red curve. And what he's explaining is that if we come with something new, and if we are coming out of the startup stage and want to make it to market leadership, we better have something new. We better have something which is different, or at least perceived different by the market. We cannot sell to these guys, we can only sell to these guys. I would say that probably most of the people in this room belongs to what we call the early market. They are technology enthusiasts, they are visionaries, they are interested in things new. The fact is that most of the people out there are scared deathless by anything new. Have you ever noticed that if you have something new and exciting, and you go and tell it to somebody, you get two types of reaction. There is the A reaction, when you say, I got something new, blah, 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 and the person will say, wow, that's really interesting. Tell me more about it, and he starts to ask questions, or she starts to ask questions. And then there's the B type of reaction. You'd say, hey, I got something new, blah, 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 and the person steps back a bit and say, who is using it? And that's 85% of people. They are not interested in anything new. They don't want to be guinea pigs. They don't want to be on the leading edge of technology. The challenge is that to become a market leader, we need to get past the 20% market share. That's the tipping point. We cannot stay on the green curve unless we get past 20% market share. Because past the tipping point, the dynamics in the markets change. And instead of us pushing to get business, customers pull the business from us. And it means that revenue generation is no longer the big challenge. The challenge is delivery and fulfillment. And when we pass the tipping point, the relationship between customer lifetime value and customer acquisition cost will increase like crazy, and we become immensely profitable. And we can reinvest in product development and market penetration, and we're on our way to leadership. And if that doesn't happen, we're on our way down the red curve. Those are the four challenges that we are faced with. I'll get back to how we deal with them. But before I do that, we have to go through a little more misery. And that's the trends. Who's familiar with this illustration? Yeah? Okay. This is the business model framework introduced by Alexander Osterwalder in 2010. Now, the business model concept became popular as a word, as an expression, in the late 90s, before the dot-com bubble. And it became popular because companies were no longer traditionally bringing a product on the market and charging for it. We were talking about winning eyeballs and winning visitors and monetize it later on. So to understand how a company would make money, we asked for their business model. But it wasn't until 2010 that we actually got a framework where we could communicate within the same language. So this is a business model. Any business can be explained using the business model. And my point here is that the business model is within our full control. We decide which value propositions we will make. We decide to whom we will sell it. We decide which channels we will use, what kind of customer relationships we will build. We decide which key resources we will apply to perform which key activities, which key partners we will sign up with. This front office produces revenue, the back office produces cost. It's all within our control. If our business model doesn't scale, everybody can go back and discuss how can we optimize the business model. What is not within our control is all the white space around the business model. That's the trends, that's the culture, the politics, the technology, the demography. That's not within our control. That's the market, that's the situation for our customers, their opportunities. That's not within our control. That's the industry, that's the substitution alternatives that our customers have. That's our competitors, our potential supply chain partners. That's not within our control. And that's the economy. That's the capital markets, that's the raw material markets, that's the inflation rate, that's the labor markets. That's not within our control. So if we do not read these trends around the business model, it may kill our business model. And if we read the trends right, it can help us accelerate along the green curve. So what are the main challenges that we are facing in the business model environment? I will introduce you to them just shortly. The good news is technology penetration will continue to increase. Mark Andreessen wrote a piece in the Wall Street Journal some years ago saying software is eating the world. And what he meant is that software is creeping into all kinds of businesses. And they're even forming new businesses in itself. I mean, who thought of Twitter 15 years ago? Facebook. They're all completely new businesses. They disrupt business like the MP3 format disrupted the music industry. So the good news is that there are opportunities for us everywhere when we're a software company. Some of the reasons is falling prices of technology. Obviously, what makes it easier to penetrate new market. But in general, the technology penetration will continue to increase. That's the good news. The bad news is that the time we have available to monetize our good ideas becomes shorter and shorter. And that's because the barriers of entry into this industry are falling, so more and more people are coming in, the competitive pressure will increase, so the window of opportunity we have will fall. Now, I mentioned the example of Apple in the beginning. Apple was founded on April 1st, 1976. That's 40 years ago. Today in this industry, we don't have 40 years to make it to market leadership. We have much less time than that. The price per user of anything will fall. I'm currently researching for my next book, and in that research I found out that the first software package released by the company Diffusion. I don't know if you're familiar with the company Diffusion that was acquired by Microsoft in 2002. The first package they released in 1984, they charged 4,300 euro for a single user license. It ran on a PC with a price tag of 10,000 euro. Today, such a product is 2.5 to 250, 300 euro. That's 7% of the original price. And the product today that you buy for 300 can even do more. So the price per user of anything will fall. So that means that our business models need somehow to calculate much larger volumes. And that's a challenge for us, especially in Europe, because we have small domestic markets. Our US friends have much bigger market and they can grow much more muscle in their domestic market than we can. So that's a huge challenge, and that's why the internationalization is so important, because without global market leadership, we cannot stay on the green curve. Customer acquisition cost will increase. Now, there are things that we can do to counter that. And one of the presentations this afternoon was about inbound lead generation, this whole inbound movement. And that's one of the ways that we can keep customer acquisition costs down. But as prices of the things fall and customer acquisition costs, that sales and marketing costs increase, we are really squeezed unless we can grow volume. The last two trends are on the market side. That's associated with our customers. And we are experiencing this today, and we will experience it in the future. Our customers don't care about IT. That was different in the last century, but they care about their professional, their vocational challenges and needs and requirements. They are better educated, they are better informed, they want us to speak their language. They will be more difficult to sell to if we don't speak their language. Propaganda is dead. Nobody believes what we have to say about our fantastic and wonderful company and how many people we are and where we are located and our wonderful products. They don't. They don't care. They don't want to listen to it. So propaganda is dead. The only thing they want to listen to is something which is related to their needs, requirements, and challenges. So these are the 6 major trends that I see facing us as we want to build a revenue generation model that will enable us to stay on the green curve. So what do? I'll give you my 6 steps to success based on my operational experience and my experience as a business advisor for the last 10 years. And the first step is ambition, purpose, and leadership. It's got nothing to do with technology and product. It's the sheer ambition that you want to be the market leader that will help you become the market leader. I meet a lot of software companies around the world, also because I work for governments where I have the opportunity to address a lot of software companies. And when I talk to them on an individual basis, they would like market leadership to happen to them. But it doesn't work that way. You really need a burning desire to become the market leader, because on that road you will meet so much resistance and so many challenges that if you don't have that ambition, you don't have the energy and the stamina to overcome them. Now, if you want people to work for you, nobody gets motivated by making you and me rich, right? That's not really a noble purpose. You need to do something which has a purpose that will make people come and work for you. And you need leadership to make these people motivated to drive your cause. Those who become the market leaders are those who have a burning ambition to become a market leader. I think the first presentation we had this morning was an excellent example of somebody who wanted to do that and executed on that and engineered that process. If you have a leadership role to play, I recommend that you read the book called Start With Why by Simon Sinek. It's an excellent book. Excellent read. Step number 2. Get those business model posters on the wall. If you're not familiar with the business model framework, you should buy Alexander Osterwalder's book and read it. It's very easy to read. He's also written a book about how to design value propositions. We cannot afford not to speak the same language in our companies. There is a difference between being misaligned and disagreement. Disagreement is fine because nobody knows the future. We can disagree about the future. But we cannot be misaligned because we don't use the same language. So get those posters on the wall. I have also written some dedicated for the software industry papers on the business model framework that you can download free of charge from our website. Step number 3. If you want to take the indirect route to the market, and a lot of software companies want to work through resellers, value-added resellers, partners, distributors, that can be wonderful or that can be a disaster. Because what you do is that you introduce a third-party business model into your own business model. It's a fantastic lever and multiplicator, but it's also a layer of complexity. Now, the good news is that there is a brilliant book out there. I know it because I wrote it myself. That's called Building Successful Partner Channels. If you want to take that route, read the book, and that'll tell you how to do that and become successful. Step number 4, understand that this is a business process. The funnel generating unqualified leads by marketing and driving them through to sales is a business process that needs to be engineered. And understand that in reality, we are just facilitating customers' buyer journey. That's what we're doing. They're facilitating people's need to buy. Now, one of the biggest mistakes I see customers or software companies do is that they assign salespeople to drive the entire process. Doesn't work. We have to introduce what Adam Smith introduced in 1776 with his book, The Wealth of Nations, division of labor. We need marketing to take charge of generating leads, turning suspects into leads. Then we need sales development to take inbound leads and develop them to qualified leads. But for a lot of companies, that's not enough. You also need an outbound where you reach out to your ideal customers and qualify them and pass them over to sales. Sales is closing the business and passing it on to farming. You cannot scale along the green curve by having individuals running that whole process. That's what we do in startup mode, and that works in startup mode, works fine, but it will never scale. We have to introduce division of labor. There are 2 brilliant books out there on this called Predictable Revenue and From Impossible to Inevitable that will explain this in further detail that you can get inspiration from. Step number 5. Propaganda is dead. People don't believe what we say about ourselves. What is the most successful marketing vehicle? We don't have a lot of time left, so that's recommendations. Recommendations and referrals are by far the most effective marketing vehicle. What is number 2? Email marketing. If you have a permission list of people who subscribe to your emails, that is the second most effective marketing vehicle. What is number 3? Social media. People who find your content related to their challenges, their needs, their requirements when they are looking for it. Number 3 is SEO, SEM, and so on. Now, across industries, there is a great variance on what is the most effective. But in the software industry, these 3 are the top. What you need to do is you need a responsive content marketing strategy. It's not about your products, it's not about your company, it's about the issues that your customers have, their challenges, their needs, their requirements. You need to speak their language. There is a brilliant book out there called Content Machine that will explain how you build that. And then finally, step number 6. If we want to engineer and optimize the business processes, we need data. And we cannot have data unless we have software underneath our business processes. So you guys need to eat your own dog food. You need to take your own medicine. And you must implement sales and marketing software. Otherwise, you do not have the intelligence required to optimize the processes. Over the last 10 to 15 years, there's been a lot of development in this area. So there are a lot of software packages out there that can help you. One of the presentations this afternoon was with HubSpot. They're a good opportunity, but there are also other platforms that can help you provide the data and the processes to design your revenue generation model. And there is another book called Inbound Marketing from the people by HubSpot that will give you inspiration on this. So these are the 6 steps. You must want market leadership. You need a common vocabulary for your internal deliberations. If you're going through channel, you must buy my book. You need to introduce division of labor in your sales and marketing department. You need a content marketing strategy, and you need to implement your own, not your own software, but software. If you do that, you will stay on the green curve and you will become global